Two developments just happened in the same 24-hour window, and separately, each one is big. But together, they're the 1-2 punch that could finally end the era of stolen elections in America forever. The House just passed the Save America Act in a legislative masterstroke, attaching it directly to a major appropriations bill so the Senate can no longer bury it in a procedural grave. And President Trump, with the CIA director, the FBI director, the DNI, and the Secretary of Homeland Security reportedly standing behind him, is set to take the national stage tomorrow night to deliver what he himself is calling the biggest news this country has ever heard. Gang, what you're about to see here is not just a legislative win. What you're about to see is the strategic setup for something far more powerful than any bill. A national security emergency declaration that no court, no Democrat, and no rhino can stop. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor, here to help you make sense of the madness with breaking news and analysis you're not going to get anywhere else, so you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. So the next 24 hours are going to be, without question, the most pivotal moment for election integrity in our nation's history. So let's start with what the House just did, because this is smarter than it looks. Yesterday, July 14th, Speaker Mike Johnson attached the Save America Act directly to a major State Department and national security appropriations bill. The result was a 215 to 211 vote that cleared the House and now heads straight to the Senate, with the Save Act an intrinsic part of the appropriations bill that only requires a simple majority, thereby bypassing the Senate filibuster. And to Mike Johnson's credit, this is the third time that the House has passed the Save America Act, okay? So Speaker Johnson has been delivering big time on this. We got to give credit where credit's due. Now, ironically, Speaker Johnson used the same Reconciliation 3.0 framework that the now late Senator Lindsey Graham was building before his passing. There have been two major reconciliation bills passed thus far. Again, reconciliation bills only need a simple majority, 51 votes. So we had the One Big Beautiful Bill and the $70 billion ICE and CBP package those were passed through reconciliation. And as it turns out, Lindsey Graham was actively working on a third reconciliation bill, Reconciliation 3.0, specifically designed to include the Save America Act. It would be a defense appropriations bill akin to what the House just passed. And Senator John Thune has signaled that the Senate will go forward with that. With Maine Senator Susan Collins now on board, Republicans have the votes. We've got 50 votes. We talked about this yesterday. The fiscal argument is airtight. Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana has correctly pointed out that proof of citizenship requirements directly reduce federal benefits costs flowing to ineligible non-citizens. That's precisely the kind of mandatory spending reform that clears what's called the Byrd Rule, all appropriations package. Everything that goes through this reconciliation process has to clear what's called the Byrd Rule. It has to have some kind of economic significance to it. That procedural door is now open. The votes are there, and now this all sets the stage for what's to happen tomorrow night, Thursday night. This is what could blow the door off its hinges entirely. There are now multiple reports that President Trump is going to be addressing some bombshell revelations about election fraud in our nation, particularly with regard to the 2020 elections. And in classic Trump fashion, he's promising that what we're going to be talking about on Thursday night doesn't get any bigger. According to reports from Reuters, The Hill, and multiple White House sources, Trump will take the podium this Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, and present newly declassified intelligence of evidence that foreign nations have interfered in American elections with specific attention to vulnerabilities in voting machines. And he will reportedly be flanked by CIA Director John Ratcliffe, Acting DNI Bill Pulte, DHS Secretary Markwayne Mullin, and FBI Director Kash Patel. Now, again, I do have to reiterate here, These are reports of what Trump will talk about. Trump himself has confirmed it will be about election security, and that's going to blow to bits the narrative that our elections are completely pristine and fair and free, but he has not given any specific details as of yet. What many analysts are doing right now is they're simply piecing together what just happened in the House and what's before the Senate, the attachment of the Save America Act to that national security bill, and they're arguing that Trump is going to drive that home. They don't see those as separate events. They see the passage from the House going to the Senate and then Trump's speech Thursday night as all one great act, as it were. So what Trump will do, at least, is provide the intelligence with the CIA, the DNI, DHS, FBI backing before the entire nation that completely justifies the attachment of the Save America Act to a national security bill. In other words, the SAVE Act is no longer about election security, is now officially about national security, officially. So what does that mean? And what does that entitle Trump to do? This is where things become absolutely explosive. But first, let me ask you something. Have you noticed that, no matter how hard you work, it feels like your money just doesn't go as far as it used to? We keep hearing politicians in Washington argue over spending, but the truth is the national debt is quietly acting like a hidden tax on every single paycheck you earn. Every time the elites print more money to fund their agendas, the dollars in your wallet and your retirement account lose their power. For years, the establishment told us to trust the system, right? Work hard, save your money, and everything will be fine. But what happens when the very people running the system are the ones inflating your wealth away? Well, that's how they keep you dependent. They control the currency, so they control your future. But what if you didn't have to stay trapped in their system? What if you were just one trade plan away from a more independent financial future? That's the message inside the name Backpack Trader. It's not about Wall Street. It's not about staring at screens all day. It's about learning a simple plan that you can carry with you, a skill the elites can't inflate away, a plan that can help you build confidence and real choices from wherever you are. Now, I know some of you are thinking, Steve, trading? Isn't that risky? And I understand that totally. I was skeptical too. That's why I trust my good friend Troy Noonan, the Backpack Trader. Troy has spent 35 years perfecting a step-by-step approach for everyday people like you and me. And I know it works because I'm actually a member of his program. And here's what makes Troy different. He shows you how to prove the plan before you risk a single penny of your hard-earned money in the markets. It's amazing stuff. So go to backpacktrader.com/turleyfreedom right now. Troy is hosting a free live training called Backpack Trader Live on Wednesday, July 22nd at 7 p.m. Eastern. When you register, he'll send you his 12 Powers to Successful Trading ebook. And when you show up live, you'll unlock the private replay of our Turley Roundtable with Troy, me, and real Backpack Trader patriots. Go to, again, backpacktrader.com/Turley Freedom and reserve your spot. It's not a coincidence that Trump will reportedly have the full national security apparatus of the United States government standing behind him on live primetime television, because the message is not just political, it is legal. When the CIA director, the FBI director, the DNI, and the Secretary of Homeland Security stand beside a president and present declassified intelligence of a foreign attack on American election infrastructure, that's not a press conference. That is the formal evidentiary foundation for a national security emergency declaration. That's what you have to get. More and more pundits are arguing that we're seeing the formal evidentiary foundation for a national security emergency declaration from Trump himself. And here's why that matters more than any bill or any court ruling. A national security emergency is virtually immune from both the courts and from Congress. A national security emergency declaration is virtually immune from the courts and from Congress. The courts cannot strike down a national security declaration any more than they can stop Trump from going to war with Iran. A traditional executive order can be challenged in court, but a national security emergency declaration is a completely different legal vehicle. The Supreme Court ruled back in 1983 that a national security emergency can only be overturned by a 2/3 vote in both houses of Congress, which, of course, is essentially impossible to achieve. The Senate filibuster can't touch it. The parliamentarian can't rule it out of order. Now, keep in mind, Trump used this exact vehicle back in 2019 to build the border wall when Congress refused to fund it, and it worked. If Thursday night delivers what the reporting suggests, he won't just be giving a speech. He'll be pulling the trigger on the most powerful election integrity mechanism in American legal history. Now, that said, if Trump stops shy of formally declaring a national security emergency, again, this is all, when all said and done, this is still conjecture. We're just trying to connect the dots here. But if he does stop shy of formally declaring a national security emergency, then what he'll most likely do tomorrow night is provide the momentum that the SAVE Act needs to now pass the Senate with a simple majority and overcome any objections the parliamentarian might have to try to stop it. So the parliamentarian can be ignored, as I understand it, legally. The parliamentarian is not law. Thune could fire her if he wanted to, as I understand it. But Trump would be giving otherwise weak-kneed Republican rhino senators the cover to override her objections in the event that she tries to overrule the inclusion of the SAVE Act in the latest appropriations bill. So here's how Thursday night ties it all together. The Democrat filibuster strategy on the SAVE Act has always rested on a single argument. Election fraud is just a conspiracy theory. It doesn't happen. This is a solution in search of a problem. Move on, right? Every rhino who's betrayed us on this has used that same soft pedaling as political cover. But if Thursday night's address delivers what the reporting suggests, if Trump presents declassified intelligence of foreign interference in American elections, with Georgia specifically in the crosshairs from what reports are saying, that argument evaporates overnight. The SAVE Act is no longer a theoretical safeguard. It becomes the obvious, urgent national security response to a documented attack on American democracy. And any senator still standing in the way of Reconciliation 3.0's election integrity provisions is no longer just voting against voter ID. They're voting against the documented recommendation of the CIA, the FBI, and the President of the United States weeks before a midterm election. And I said it yesterday, if 80% of the country already supports election integrity measures, after Thursday night's speech, you can guarantee it's going to be 90%. The House has done its job. The Senate has the votes. The reconciliation vehicle is built. The declassified evidence is reportedly in hand. And Thursday night, the President of the United States takes the podium with the full national security apparatus behind him. The fight for free and fair elections hasn't ended. As far as President Trump is concerned, that fight has only just begun.